So in this super fun tutorial, I'm going to be showing you a vinyl split with a watercolor using inks mashup design. Hello and welcome back to Everything Tumbler Tutorials. My name is Rebecca and I am a Tumbler designer. Everything shown in this tutorial will be listed and linked down in the description box for you guys below. So let's go ahead and get started. In today's tutorial, I am going to be working with a sanded and prepped 30-ounce tumbler from AB Designs. I'm going to go ahead and use the Rust-Oleum white spray paint as my glitter adhesive today. So I'm going to go ahead and spray it all down, and then I'm going to apply my favorite unicorn diamond cut glitter from AB Designs. So once your tumbler is fully spray painted, we're going to go ahead and just glitter it all up. I also want to mention, as you know, you can use Mod Podge, glitter adhesive, and or epoxy if you haven't used spray paint as your glitter adhesive yet. So I recommend going ahead and giving it a try and dropping me a comment down below on what you think of it. If you feel like you didn't get a solid coat of glitter on this first attempt, you can always go right out, seal the tumbler with clear seal from Rust-Oleum, go right back in and re-glitter. Once everything is dry, we're then going to go ahead and seal it with the clear seal from Rust-Oleum. Once that's fully dry, then we're ready for our first coat of epoxy. So for my vinyl, I've chosen a beautiful Monstera design from AB Designs, and what I decided to do was go ahead and cut out what I wanted to be used for my focal point on 1/2 the cup. Here I just used painter's tape and the lid for the natural notches to make sure that the tumbler was split evenly. So once I figured out right where I wanted to place this, we're going to make sure that the vinyl doesn't have any air pockets underneath or wrinkles. If you epoxy over a vinyl that has air pockets, you will be able to see them after it's epoxied. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure this is lined up right with the painter's tape, and then I'm going to score a line on the vinyl right down the painter's tape so that I can get a nice clean cut using my X-Acto knife.
Around you, hearing your laugh and holding your hand. I think of you every day. I hope and I wish that you're doing okay. I want us to go back to the old days because I miss you. And I just thought of you.
So just like before, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing by using the painter's tape to mark off where I need my vinyl to go in that little white glittered section, because I only want to place the vinyl at the top and the bottom on the opposite side of the tumbler. So once everything is nice and taped off, I'm just going to go ahead and place the vinyl however I see fit. Of course, I guess I could have cut this a little bit shorter. And then I'm going to again use my X-Acto knife to cut off all that excess vinyl.
I miss being around you, hearing your laugh and holding your hand. I think of you every day. I hope and I wish that you're doing okay. I want us to go back to the old days because I miss you. And I just thought of you.
Once all of our vinyl was nice and cleaned up, it was time to remove that tape, but re-tape it, then covering the vinyl so we can protect it. I am working with the regular artist resin from Counterculture DIY, as you would not want to use fast set for this particular job because you need a little bit more working time. So I did mix up quite a bit, way more than I needed, but I really wanted to make sure that I was going to have enough, but not so much to where it was just sliding all over the tumbler. So I'm kind of hoping that makes sense for you guys, but you want it thin, but you also want it thick enough to where the inks will move the way that you want them. So I'm just very carefully adding the epoxy in just these two sections for now. Once these two sections are completed, then I will move on to the other side. By now, you probably have already noticed the inks that are dabbed onto my paper towel. This is just something that I've always done since working with inks, so that I know what colors I'm working with before I have a surprise oopsie on my tumbler. So this just gave me a guide as to what colors that I wanted to lock in on and use for this design. So I'm working with all of the inks from Black Bear Inks, and I'm using 3 different greenish teal colors and 1 gold. So I chose Himalayan Blue Poppy, Forest Haze, Irish Moss, and the gold is Goldenrod. These were all super fun colors to work with. And when I dab very little, I'm going to use a straw and blow it out. Now I will say that the top and the bottom on this particular section got a little more crazy because sometimes I never know when to say when, but I just had fun with it and just back and forth with the colors until I was happy with it. You will also notice while I'm doing this particular section that my inks are moving pretty good, and I'm not having to worry about anything like the epoxy and the inks traveling outside of this section unless I clearly am blowing it outside that section. So this is working perfectly in the amount of epoxy that I used, so I don't have to worry about this design moving anywhere further than I want it to go.
The idea of you listening to this, the thought of you on the other side of the line, I can't hang up. I don't want this to end. Not again. I don't know if you miss me too, but I hope you do.
For the larger section, I'm going to be using the exact same epoxy that I had already pre-mixed for the other side. I'm also going to be doing the same technique and blowing it, but I want to try to keep this as much at an angle, going from the bottom left to the upper right corner as best as I can. Do want to mention, after I've applied the epoxy in each section, I went ahead and used the torch to pop any bubbles prior to the inks. Once I've applied the inks, I don't add any heat whatsoever. As I do make the ink drops, I try to make them as small as I can so that I can keep as much control over it as possible. The whole time the straw is in my mouth. So I'm not putting it down and picking it up and putting it down and picking it up. I keep it in my mouth so that once I make the little drops, I can blow right away. If you notice, if you blow too hard, you kind of disperse the inks a little more than you'd probably like. So you'll notice I do go back and try to finesse all of these sections just until I'm happy with it.
I miss being around you, hearing your laugh and holding your hand. I think of you every day. I hope and I wish that you're doing okay. to go back to the old days. Because I miss you. And I just thought of you.
Once I was pretty happy with what I had going on at the moment, it was then time to go ahead and bring in the gold. But what I learned from the other side, using the gold and just dropping it, I didn't really much care for the effect. So I decided to go ahead and put it a little bit into a measuring cup and using a stir stick just to kind of line it out, if you will, kind of going up the center. So this way, again, I would gain a little bit more control of the gold and have it the way that I'd prefer it. I definitely think using the stir stick was more beneficial. So I'm thinking maybe if I redo this design, I would do the same thing with the other colors as well. Once you have your desired appearance that you want for your design, remember we are here working with epoxy. So I waited about 20 minutes after watching the cup faithfully just to make sure I didn't have any movement that I didn't want. So once I was pretty sure everything was ready to go, I then went in to remove the tape. Just remember, when getting ready to remove your tape, just be super careful as this tumbler is still wet and accidents can still happen. Once you have removed all of the tape, we're just going to go ahead and let this continue to spin for about 6 to 8 hours until she's fully cured.
Not again. I don't know if you miss me too, but I hope you do.
Once she was completely cured, everything shockingly was very smooth. So I went ahead and decided to go in and off camera do my textured Teck Wrap Craft vinyl striping that I wanted. And I wanted to mix in MJ's Gold Magic Mix to give this a little bit of extra bling. But I used such a teeny tiny amount. I also want to apologize that this clip of me epoxying looks a little bit cloudy, not quite sure why, but overall, this tumbler was super fun and so beautiful. This tumbler design can be done in such a variety of different vinyls and inks, like it's incredible. So I really do hope that you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making this tumbler. Super, super fun. And remember, all of the links will be listed down in the description box for you guys below. And if you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for new tutorials coming every week.
I miss being around you, hearing your laugh and holding your hand. I think of you every day. I hope and I wish that you're doing okay. I want us to go back to the old days. Because I miss you.